That's all right. It's just don't you introduce yourself? Yes, well, good. Yeah, good boy.
Everybody online? Okay. Well, this session is about the status of the subtask 2 plan for the coming month. So this subtask is about extending the HTC assessment, and the subtask is being led by Katia from Leuven. So Katia is online, you see her?
Yes, I'm here. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect.
So if you want, you start and then present the first part, and then I continue.
Yes, hi everybody. I'm sorry I couldn't be there with you in person, and me and María José will do this session a bit hybrid. I will do the first few slides, which is mostly a summary of a paper. I was working with a group of colleagues who are present today. We can move to the next slide, which is a brief timeline of what we planned for today's meeting. I cannot move the slides myself. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so first I will give a brief summary of the review paper we were working on in the past 6 months. If you remember, I introduced it shortly last time we met in Leuven, and we had a lot of progress since then. Then María José will update you on the previous plan, on the plan we on the progress we did in subtask 2. Then we will have an introduction of the breakout session we planned today, and then we will give you 15 minutes to help us with this breakout session, and there you will give us a bit of your input with the main goal of defining the structure and the final deliverables. As Cliff introduced this morning, it's something that needs to be done quite soon. And then in the last 15 minutes of today's meeting, we can have a discussion in person there on site and also hybrid online. For the next slide, please. First, María José will present you the current plan, which we drafted after the last meeting. So you will get, we need to gather more insight and evidence of the problem in the current state of the art, and ideas and strategies to overcome this gap. So we created already several working packages inside our subtask, but then we need still a bit of input to define this, the problem statements and the strategies for this subtask. And of course, the last thing is defining the deliverables, as I said. And in the end, we also need people to volunteer and commit to do smaller little tasks so we can plan the future 3 years of the Annex. We can go to the next slide now. So the paper I was working on with Mark, Grant, Sarah, Matthew, Richard, and staff was about a systematical review of all methods concerning the estimation of the heat transfer coefficient. But I think all of you got the email from David last week about the definitions of the HTC and the general consensus. So this we call the measured heat transfer coefficient. What is, and then I will explain the next slide. But first, what we did, we collected a total of 104 research items, which are mainly contributions from people who are also part of this annex. And we also have some supporting literature, which was not really about the methods, but also something surrounding and motivating this review. And in this paper, we first defined how we did this review, like the definitions which were shared also with you, and the definitions of what is accuracy, what is precision, and so on. So it also it's part of something that is going on in subtask 3. And then we split the paper in 2 parts, focused on dedicated measurement campaigns and onboard monitored methods, because we found that it was the most logical way to split these two in these 2 parts. And then the last part is a discussion in general, identifying gaps and writing a bit of motivation for the work we are actually going to do here during the annex in the next few years. So from the total 140 items, half of it were journal papers. Then we have also 15 conference papers, 12 academic outputs, which include master thesis, but also mostly PhD thesis. I think more than around 10 of them are PhD theses from people who are included in this or the previous Annex 71. And then we have also 23 inputs, which are reports, communications, and also inputs from industry, so methodologies which are developed or mentioned in some industrial reports. And then we have 3 standards which mention the measured HTC. Next slide, please. So this is a slide summarizing a bit what is found in the literature. So regarding the type of measurements, the first graph, 50% of the literature we found was about dedicated methods, which is mostly including the co-heating, QB, and serine method. And then those were most like around I don't know, 5 to 10 papers on each, and then the other methods were just maybe mentioned once or twice, like some novel methods and so on. Then 40% were reviews, literature on the in-use HTC. Then the 5% is mostly related to the standards and things that cannot be related to any of those. And then we have also several papers which compared the accuracy or estimates between these 2 methods. Then the middle graph shows the maturity level. So what was the subject also of these papers? So most of them were all field trials or simulations, but then we also found that inside the field trials you can also have just testing facility, which are a bit more specific or specialized for such experiments. Then we had 8% which were comparing simulations and field. The 9% were coming from the industry, and the rest was not applicable because it was mostly development of a method or some just theoretical without any actual application in real life. And then the last pie chart shows the used reference or target, which was very interesting because you can see that a third of the papers we found used co-heating as a target for the estimation, and then 23% were using the theoretical, or from the EPC or just UA values calculated with the values from the test case or the real building. Then the 5% of the papers just compared the HTC which they got with another method or based something that is not co-heating but something else. And many of them did not specify any reference or targets, or it was not applicable because of the type of the research item, for example, a standard or so on. Next slide, please. And this chart represents just the statistical background of onboard monitored approaches. So I was more in charge for this part of the paper, and it was a bit difficult to categorize because here we don't have specific methods such as the co-heating or QB, but mostly it's data measured on site, and then different approaches and statistical models were applied. So we see that gray box models were most applied, but the rest is more or less applied in a similar magnitude. The machine learning is still in this development phase. I think in the future years we will see more of this. And on this graph, I need to tell you that different items were counted also when in papers which compared those methods. So it's not directly one-on-one with the research item, but just the method used in one or more methods in one paper. And at the current state of this review paper, we have still to finalize the discussion part, and the graphs are more or less finalized. As you can see, I showed you 4 possible visualization of this, but I'm still also working on what else can we show from the data we collected. So we collected it in a way, we have a very big Excel table with every single research item, and then in the columns we have a lot of different characteristics of these specific reports and papers. And in this way, we wanted to show a methodological review of what has been done in the field, mostly in the last 10 to 15 years. And it's planned to be finalized in the next few months, hopefully. And this would be the first output of the whole annex. And hopefully everybody can later on just refer to it when building on this. So that would be it, I think, from me. I don't know what's the next slide. Yes, so this is what I already said, that we are finalizing the graphics and discussion. And yeah, and the conclusions are highlighting the motivation behind our work here during the annex. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Katia. Then, once we have done this review of the state of the art, we come back to the current plan and progress of the subtask 2. In this meeting, we have 2 objectives. One is to finish the working plan that we have done already, but it is mainly done. But if you have any issue that should be included or modified in the document that we have, is the moment to say. So please tell us if you want to have anything to modify or to include. We don't have time now for major modifications, but if there is something that this is a key issue, it should be done now before submission to the ESCO members. Then the other objective for the meeting today is to get your input from all the participants to have information to coordinate the activities for the coming month. So it is important to have all your views to make a plan that make everybody participating happy. So till now, from the last meeting, from the previous meeting, what we have done is to write the working plan. And then taking into account what was talked and considered in the previous meeting, we have organized the document of work of subtask 2 around 4 thematic working packages. And then an additional innovation hub to promote the ideas which don't fit in any of the other aspects of our other working packages, and in general, in the Annex 1994. Then, these are the working packages that you see in the picture that are all very related. There are common issues for all the working packages. And these working packages have been proposed according to the ideas that we identified in the previous meeting. The research problems that we are facing are these that we are summarizing in these slides. First, the issue that some HTC estimates are far from the logical range. This happens a lot when we apply methodologies that in appearance are good enough. Then we have spread in the HTC estimation that sometimes are far from each other and different estimation from different data sets. And the spread is, in many cases, larger than the spread that can be explained taking into account the theoretical information. Other issue that we see in some of the estimation that we have is that sometimes we think that we are improving the models from the mathematical point of view and also from the physical point of view. And the issue is that we obtain worse results if we compare with, for example, reference values like the co-heating values or the theoretical values. There is a problem. Other problem is that we have more, no problem, is the evidence of these problems have been seen in the previous analysis, for example, and in some publications. So we have evidence of the problems that, for example, in many different approaches, in principle, all the approaches are okay, but we use the same data and the same buildings, and we obtain totally different values, or very different values. So it's something that should be addressed. And also, apart from the three first points that are a problem in common, we have specific problems related to buildings where we have party walls, buildings test under warm weather, and also problems in buildings that are well-performing buildings. So taking all these issues into account, we have formulated the 4 working packages. The first one is about everything related to party wall heat transfer. Here, in each one, we have established set questions and tasks to be done. This is what we have already in the document, in the proposal. Regarding the party wall, the question is how important is party wall heat loss or gain for the evaluation of kind of specific archetypes. And how can we obtain guidance to develop, to address the importance of this issue in the building stocks? Also, how to integrate the inclusion of buildings with party walls into parameter identification models. What are the measurements that are necessary, and how to include these measurements in the assessment? And also, if it is appropriate, the HTC coefficient to characterize these kind of buildings, or we should look for another indicator. And how? But the task is to conduct a studies based on simulations or dedicated experiment to identify how important is this issue, everything related to the party walls. And also to develop models to include the effect of the adjacent zones, like shared boundaries and party walls. Explore which data are necessary, what information can be extracted from existing or limited data. For example, collective heating data, interzonal temperature, etc. This is the scheme that we have followed for the 4 working packages. And also, we have tried to identify what are the participants doing. related to this working package. For example, here we have 3 examples of groups that have given us information on what they are doing. This information is important for us to organize and to coordinate the activity in the group. So if any other participant is doing something in this topic, please tell us now or along the meeting. It would be very, very useful if you can help us to complete this information about what are you doing about this. Then about warm climate, it is other issue that we consider important, taking into account what was discussed in the previous meeting, and we have dedicated one work package to this. The main issue is about the question if the HTC assessment depends on the weather condition, yes or no, to answer. And how to include the building physics into the models that we are using to assess this coefficient in these weather conditions. And the task to be done. One task important is how conduct studies, mainly as in the other work packages, based on data coming from simulation and data coming from the case experiments. And here, it is important, obviously, the solar radiation, the modeling of the solar radiation, but not only the modeling of the solar radiation, because there is already a lot of work done about the modeling of the solar radiation. But when we are testing warm weather, we have other issues. And many of these issues are related to the level of the variable that we are measuring. For example, in warm weather, delta T, positive or negative, usually is low. When delta T is low, you have information in the variables that are measured that is very little. And very little is, or maybe in the range, the uncertainty. Then when you fit, it's difficult to fit a model when the signal to radio is poor. So this is a very important problem we have in this warm weather. Then this issue may make important the that some issues, some problems or phenomena that usually are negligible or we can be considered linear in other situations. Here, the typical approximation might be not important because the main variables are low, so other phenomena typically negligible here are not negligible. For example, variability due to wind speed in the luggage or short long wave radiation that is an effect of short wave radiation on the surfaces, etc. So this is one important issue that we have to deal with in warm climates, not only solar radiation. And then also, in general, it's important to develop methodologies to identify the HTC coefficient with accuracy and low uncertainty. That typically we have high uncertainty under this weather condition. As in the other work packages, we have identified some groups that are working on this, but I invite all of you to tell us what is your current research on this related to this working group. Then time as variable in the assessment. Other issue that is important and could be, and is not so, there is not so much research about this in the previous research, is how important is the frequency, the averaging time, the length of the periods of test, the starting point of the measurement, etc., on the estimation of the HTC on the different methods. And also, how can we incorporate these issues in the models that we use to identify the parameters? And additionally, if we are able to get additional information like response times or thermal mass related to time issues. The task, as in the other cases, is systematic analysis about all the issues that we have identified as important. And here, as time is a point in common with the other tasks, there is an important connection with the other tasks. Then in this, we don't have example. Yes, we have identified some groups working on this, but it's important not to show everything in the slides, but that you come to us and tell us what are you doing in this related to this problem to plan the activity. And then about well-performing buildings. Again, this is an issue that could be related to the other problems. We think in terms of the level of the variables, the signal to noise ratio, but the particular issues that we have here is that need to be investigated is the effect of slower thermal dynamic, the energy balance that could be built not only or not mainly by the heating system, but also about other contribution to the energy balance, and the small delta T between indoor and outdoor for the estimation that could be problematic. And also, of course, combining everything with what is being done in the other work packages. Here we are talking not only, for example, could be passive houses, but everything, every building where you can identify well-performing characteristics. And finally, Innovation Hub, everything that can contribute to the progress, considering non-conventional methods and different data sources. Not only the typical data sources, but any other kind of sources of information that can be used for the model that we propose. So the tasks are to explore the new approaches and to compare with the typical or more traditional research approaches. And finally, as we want to collect your input and your thought about all these work packages or objective, etc., we have proposed that you see this image and you capture and enter into the link. And we start the brainstorming, but in parallel with the brainstorming, you tell us your thought, but if you write down in the survey that you can see in the link, you can give us information which is very useful for us to prepare the summary of the meeting. So in the survey, you will have different questions that are the questions that you have here written. First, you can choose one work package and then start to answer about this work package. I think that you can repeat the survey as many times as you want. So first you can choose one work package answer, and then another one, and then another one, as much as possible. So for us, it's useful if you answer as much as possible. So here are the question. What strategy would you adopt to identify the issue related to the work package that chosen? Then here we have included some ideas to think about what kind of answer we wish to see or we wish to be discussed. And also, then the following question is, what results and outcome would you like to see from this work package? Then also here you see some ideas, suggestions about what to discuss, but you are free, and it is important that you feel free and you give us as many ideas as possible. Then also the last question is, which innovation would you be excited to see in the Annex 94? So again, everything free, some ideas, and freedom to discuss. And then we also have this something, the other idea that we need to finish. This part is, the other parts are regarding the future. No? The survey is about the future, the coming month, but also regarding the coming month and regarding the finish the work plan for the ESCO meeting, we need to fix that we agree with these deliverables. If not, please tell us. And then to identify a responsible for each deliverable. So please feel free to volunteer to lead each deliverable and tell us. And finally, we put these ideas for discussion. Now, the plan in this session was to start discussion. It's good because you are here, all the participants here and online. It's a good representation of the participants, and tomorrow we will continue. But it's good to have all of you here all together, because some of the participants in the subtask are also participants in the other, so it's good to have everybody together. So please tell us, we want to know about how do you think we should continue the activity in this work, in this subtask. For example, we are planning to collect data, probably supplied by subtask 4 or 5, subtask 5, and then propose common exercise to everybody. This is one way of proceed. So we wish to know about your opinion about this. I don't know if I have finished the presentation. I don't know if Katia wants to ask something. Yeah.
I just wanted to say maybe we can leave the slides with the QR code or the questions for the people to talk about it. I don't know if everybody had a chance to scan it and think about it. And yeah, I don't have any other comments. It's more like on site now.
Can I just, some people couldn't access that. So I think Grant or Richard already forwarded it round. So if you check your, so it's been emailed round as well as that. So if that's not working for some people, you've got the email link in your computer, just in case. The other thing I wondered if we should, I know you gave me a chance to feedback on the questions, but it occurred to me as you were speaking that if anybody already has data, that they could contribute to any of those different aspects, those 4 different things, then if you could note just anywhere on your brainstorming form that you have some data that could be shared, then we will be able to, as long as you put your name somewhere, and we will contact you and then be able to get the data, because obviously everything's limited by the data that we can get access to. I'm sure there'll be some data collection, but if anybody's already got data, then please just tell us that you've got some data.
Allow documented things.
Can you send this maybe for me, because there are power outages in Spain, Portugal, and part of France and Andorra, and some colleagues that was connected, they don't have internet, or is you understand?
Yeah.
So
I mean, so I
maybe
guess
just send
I'm going to send it
for
to everyone that registered online and in person for the meeting.
because maybe they have yes the opportunity to brainstorm it, maybe not now, but
Yes.
yeah, we'll circulate all the slides at the end.
So maybe just to make sure that I understand well, when you talk about party wall heat transfer, for example, you're looking for data under normal operating conditions, right?
We are looking, and this is my impression, we are open to suggestions.
I think the
I
answer is
I mean,
don't want
we've
to
all
tell you
don't
exactly how
don't
to
go
do it.
heating tests, right? So we all have some heat flux data probably, but is that what you're in fact looking for?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I think, you've seen what's written, but what we don't want to do is say, at this stage, is we're addressing this problem like this, because that's for the group to decide. So I think in terms of data, if you say what you've got, and then we can ask people if that's the data that they would like to analyse. I think for common exercises, yes, they will just have to be in agreement. I see there being some common exercises and some simply, here's some interesting data and somebody's got a good idea.
All right.
Sign-in sheet coming up as well.
There's a sign-in sheet. So sign in. We want to know who was here in person, and we'll just write down the names of people who are online. It's quite important for us to be able to report back how many people have turned up to the meeting, where they were from, and so on. So I think we're brainstorming. Is that right?
Yes. So please, somebody want to make a comment about this plan?
So we had a presentation on social housing, multi-tenanted buildings earlier. Is that included in work package 2.1? So party wall heat transfer, would that be also for tower blocks or for
It's open.
it's open? Okay.
It's open, yes. So please, we want to,
The party ceiling and floor as well as wall.
Yeah.
to
It's
you, what
it's
you
like the
propose, we
extreme,
will
isn't it?
consider.
Okay.
We are here to do research. So if people is interested, it's good to have the
I think I'm interested in multi-tenanted dwellings because it has such a large opportunity. It's as one of the presenters said, something like 30% of the buildings were, put that category. So I think it's very impactful.
in some countries, many buildings of this type.
Yeah.
Yes. And do you have data on this?
Yes.
We can
For multi-tenant, we have no promises, but we have maybe 90,000 homes. Whether we can get access to use that, I have to check, but something like that.
So it's good if you can make Send-
Yeah.
some mail explaining how are the data. Basic statistic of the buildings, about the data.
I just have to add the heat base.
Only.
Somebody else is gonna have to be the hard work and the fabric position. So I think that you'll find that a lot is that people will have partial data. So complete data sets difficult. And given to a researcher, my experience as a commercial operator, every time we give data to an academic, they want better data.
Challenging exercise.
For free.
Yes.
You provide that then, Josh. Better data or for free? Free and heat data we have, yeah. Quite a lot of heat data.
I think the better data thing is really interesting because we tend to focus on these annexes in just like getting the best possibly data we can get. But we all know that often we get really poor data. And I think there is, with the innovation hub and so on, there is a really interesting strand of work in what can you do with bad data, and we might get some good data and do something to it. And then be able to analyze data sets that have got things missing, got some issues. Because that's the perfect thing would be able to do HTC any time of year in any building and with poor quality data, because that would cover.
Finished, done.
Yeah, then we're done.
So, but equally, if Josh has got like 90,000 homes, but he just gets us access to 10 for us to do some deep dive on, then then can use similar data sets. Well, similar buildings with bigger and smaller data sets, then that gives us a lot more heft, doesn't it? If we can do that, Josh, if you got like 10 super friendlies that we
I got a few thousand.
No,
And what's the role of synthetic data?
That was just what I was thinking. Yeah. So yeah, have you got any synthetic data?
I have as much synthetic data as you want.
Yeah, statistically generated.
We're using large language models, tokenizing characteristics of houses, and generating data from reference buildings. So I don't know. Again, another exercise is to test that for validity.
That is a really, and that might fit into this particular subtask again, is this use of synthetic data, because there's obviously synthetic data from things like Energy Plus models, and then this big, massive emerging field of statistically generated synthetic data where you can get a series of houses and generate data with the same statistical properties and trying to work out how valid this is. Because as soon as that works, then suddenly you've got access to huge volumes of data. And that's
but equally, if we've got 90,000 homes,
yeah.
Do we need to start making data up?
Well, the advantage to the synthetic stuff is you can just access it. It's not, there's no privacy issue.
We go to take a full data set and then gradually remove things, see what impact that may have. For work package 2.1, the party wall heat transfer, how regularly do people measure the heat transfer from both sides of the party wall to see whether the heat transfer is from one house to the other or from one house to outside?
Could be something, maybe Katia can answer your question because she has done the state of the art. So Katia, can you add something? Because
Yes, indeed, there was also in the examples of the co-heating test, how important was the neighbors. For example, in the work of Geert Bouwens, he was working, there was a chapter about that. It is research, but there is no clear answer. I think what I'm now also filling in this brainstorming form, and I think it would be nice to have a result to say, okay, if we know a temperature of the neighboring building, we can be certain this % that the heat loss is towards them compared to the loss to the outdoors. Then if we install a heat flux meter, we can define this with less uncertainty and so on. I think something like that would be a nice output to have. I don't know if it's, but there is no really systematic overview of what has been done. Sometimes people just say in the discussion of their paper, okay, there is a bit of uncertainty because we had a neighboring space, unheated space, but there is no clear output as far as I saw so far.
I agree with this. Also, with the party wall, I think there is a problem. Probably it's not negligible. I sorry, you know what I mean. Negligible. Negligible. But the problem is that it is also not measurable because it is so low that it is so small that you are not able to obtain a good measurement, even though if you put very good sensor. Your variable, your measurement is affected by noise.
How many watts per meter squared do you think you're talking?
I don't know. I don't have an estimate, but it is maybe so big that is important in the energy balance, but it is at the same time so small that incorporate too much uncertainty in the analysis. So this is very problematic because we always think about the effect on the thermal energy balance, but you think we should think also in the variables, in the signal processing process and problems. So it's not so easy because it could be so strange that you put a very good model from the thermal point of view, but then you apply very good sophisticated method and your results are absurd. So why? Because the model are mathematical model, even though you incorporate physics, the model fit to the data. You can have a very perfect fit, but the assessment of the HT coefficient is bad. So this is an additional problem that come to the party walls, come to the warm weather conditions, and come to the efficient buildings. Everywhere is this problem. So
the two questions are then, and in this order, it's not so much how we measure it, or should we measure it to start with. So a simple sensitivity analysis using some model data would probably tell us that. And then if it is worth doing, then how do we do it? But I don't think we should jump straight into how we do it until we know if we should do it.
We've got a paper on that that's been stuck in the computer.
I'd like to come in here, sorry.
yes, please.
This is Roger. It seems to me that a question which isn't being asked is why do we want it, and what's the context? It seems to me that heat loss through party wall, for example, has a very different importance if you're worrying about heat sizing the radiator, for example, or whether you're worried about the energy balance of the building of the home as a whole. So in other words, it's not just one answer.
Yeah.
And also Dave Johnson wants to come in as well. So he's got his hand raised online.
Cheers, Grant. Thanks for that. Yeah. We've done some work, certainly as part of the TSB BP program, where we measured heat flux through both sides of the party wall, but we did have control of both dwellings. Obviously, the ideal scenario is you control both dwellings because then you know exactly how much flux is going from one property to the other, and you can determine whether there's a party wall bypass. So obviously, it depends on how the building has been constructed. But we've even seen when you've got control, you can end up with heat loss due to the bypass. The other problem you've got is in existing buildings is that the rooms are quite often at very different temperatures, so the heat loss through each individual part of the party wall is different. And when we did we also did a Bayes project on measuring party walls. The actual flux you get through the party wall can be highly variable as well. So it is an incredibly complex problem, and if you're not measuring anything to do with the conditions on the other side or the flux through the actual party element, then you've got really no idea what contribution that may be making to the building, and depending upon the country. Some countries have a large proportion of either semi-detached or terrace properties, so it can make a significant contribution. And with flats, it can be significantly worse.
Dave, can you share that data?
Yeah, I'll have to have a look to see if we can share that particular data. Yeah.
Can I just come back to this point that Roger, I think, was just making about whether we need to, how much we worry about party walls and so on. I think there's a really big link here to subtask. They're not called subtask 1 anyway, because you need to think about the application, and I think this probably would be a really useful exercise for the whole of subtask 2 to think about these in the context of, well, what are the different applications, and therefore what are we aiming for? Because sometimes you might care about whether there's party wall heat loss, and other times you might just say, well, it just doesn't matter for this particular application. All it matters is this is the rate of heat loss. Doesn't matter whether it's a party wall or an external wall. So we might have a point of fairly early collaboration that would be useful.
And if the heat loss is to outside, then maybe it never matters. If it's a bypass, it's part of the HTC and you need to measure it. Only if it's to a neighbour that it matters. Because the neighbour can move out outside time.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, we've got 5 minutes of this session, so I was able to want to kind of gather it all together.
Sorry.
What are your main actions that you need?
The main action, yes. The main action is please answer the questionnaire that you have in the link. This is important. Please tell us if you have any concern or want to have a minor modification on the work program. We are not able to do big modification, but if there is something that you want to see change, it's okay. And please think about the responsibilities that you want to commit for the deliverable. If you want to be responsible of any of the deliverable, is welcome. We wish to have a variety of responsible for every one of the deliverables. This is something that is important. And also, we need between today and tomorrow to come to an agreement on the step to be done for the next period till the future meeting. So then please give us ideas about how to proceed, what data you have, what data you propose to use in this work package, and how do you think it should be organized. For example, this kind of common exercise based on the data we receive, or something else that you can think about. Is something that would be useful. So tomorrow we will continue discussing about this. So please think at night on the question that you have in the questionnaire, and please answer before leaving the meeting. So from my side, I think it's all I wanted to say. And if Katia want to add something.
I just want to thank you, everybody. We have already 16 people who responded. We will use this, your entries here, to prepare for tomorrow. We can show what you wish to see in this subtask, and then we can build on it tomorrow in the breakout session. And then from it, we will draft the final proposal for this subtask. So yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And can I be pushing to my role? Would anybody like to volunteer? So somebody who lives in a hot place might like to do the cooling climates one, wherever that one is. I can't see it.
The second one, extend the applicability of the.
Yeah, different climates. So,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, now we've got one down.
No one's having any lunch or break or
Yeah,
coffee
this
until
is-
these
we're gonna stand here.
We don't come to these things just for the sake of it. We need some volunteers.
We
both
need volunteers, yeah.
In-
It needs
in
to
the
be
room.
spread out.
and on Teams as well. Any hands up on Teams, Grant? No. This is dismal. We need people to volunteer to do these tasks. Excellent.
2.4.
2.4. Yep,
Yep.
brilliant. Thank you, Carl. Cheers. When is left then? 2 down.
So we've got
3 to go.
party walls and innovation.
Party walls.
I think innovation is kind of just come with whatever you've got. So in some ways, we don't need a leader.
Yeah.
That is just content. If you've got an innovation, bring it. So that can be.
Yeah, and we can have a couple of people leading these as well, if you
Yeah,
want to kind of
definitely.
do it as a joint effort.
Yeah.
Don't everyone all rush at once, because we'll struggle to count the hands.
Party walls. Please, Beckett.
Yeah, Dave Johnson. Has he gone offline?
No, I'm still here, Richard. We've only got. I need to check whether we've got the data. I'm more than happy to contribute whatever we can. But obviously we've only been looking at it from one particular modelling aspect as well. Remember.
But it's someone to lead the task, Dave, rather than kind of do the job and provide the data. So because you've got all your wealth of experience in party wall heat transfer, maybe it's sensible for you to pick this one up. I'm being quite forceful here, Dave, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, you've twisted my arm then, Richard. Yeah, shove me down for that one.
Well volunteered, Dave.
Yeah.
Such willing volunteers.
I know, yeah.
Great, thanks.
What have we got left?
That's it. We're done because it's just the innovation, and I think the innovation is just getting an idea that you've got.
Someone needs to lead it.
Somebody needs to lead it.
Who leads on innovation in this room?
I will lead on that one. Hello.
Okay.
I will lead on that one.
Yeah, thanks, Cammy. Brilliant.
Perfect.
Thank you, Cammy. Cheers.
Excellent.
Is that-
Somebody made a note of it.
Yeah. Maria Jose, have you got all those written down?
So this is Cammy on left back.
Ah, from local.
Brilliant. We're going to do that every time, I think.
Yeah, this should be more of a
The only way
battlefield
we're
rather
going
than
to move forward
volunteering.
is by getting people to say they will do something.
So, have you got all the names, Maria?
Yes, but I don't have for working package 3
What's that one?
time.
Time.
Oh, did I miss that one?
Is Lubo on the call?
No, at the moment.
Don't want to volunteer him when he's not here. But Lubo just did publish a paper and he's quite well into time as a concept within HTC. Does anyone else want to volunteer otherwise?
So if you put Lubo, Lubo, question mark, we'll confirm it with him.
Don't put a question mark. This is being recorded, so I think Lubo would actually want to do this because he has just published. His paper is called "Time as a Concept of the HTC." So I'm thinking you might use it.
I think with all of these tasks anyway, these deliverables, you've got your subtask leaders.
Yeah.
And me, Rich, and David who are helping with everything anyway. So it's not like it's just you and nobody's going to be there to support you. But if we've got individuals taking individual responsibility for things, we're far more likely to deliver something. Brilliant. Thanks very much, Marie Jose and Katia.
Yeah, excellent. Well done, guys. It was good. We've got some very willing volunteers. We've got there's a great package of works. I think it fits into what we had and probably goes a bit deeper into the proposal that we already done. So I think it fills it out quite nicely. So for us in Saxion now, we've got a photograph and a coffee break. I'm thinking that will take 40 minutes.
Let's try and do it in 40 minutes. So if you're online,
Yeah.
fill in the brainstorming. If you're in the room for the brainstorming, please do it. The programme finishes really early today, so there will be time just to spend 20 minutes filling in some details on that later today.
Excellent. Right, thanks everyone. It's good.
Okay. Oh, where are we going to go for the photo?
Outside maybe?
The sunshine.
Yeah, let's go outside.
Right, should we do the photograph first and then come back and get coffee?
Yeah, we should.
Right.